Hi, Sally Ann here. As we move into autumn, this season invites us to slow down, reset, and let go. Let go of all those things that no longer work for us. It offers a valuable opportunity to nourish ourselves in ways that gently strengthen our immunity before winter arrives. And I'm very happy to welcome back Tania Grasseschi to help me explore how we best nourish ourselves in autumn to support our immune system. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you for having me, Sally Ann.
Tanya is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and Qigong practitioner and teacher based in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. And she's really passionate about taking the wisdom of Chinese medicine and making it practical in our day-to-day lives. And our modern lives are often crazy. So that wisdom of Chinese medicine can help balance things out. Tanya last joined us for our episode on summer eating. And today I'm really looking forward to this conversation because in my reflections in preparing for this episode, I was sort of somewhat amazed that I hadn't really thought about the transition of summer to winter. And as much as I love autumn, I hadn't really thought about, I suppose, the extreme contrast, Tanya, of summer compared to winter.
Yes, summer is, of course, a lovely, warm and active season. So we spoke, I think, last time about yang nature of summer and how yang is essentially expansive and warming and drying and active, whereas winter becomes more contracted and it becomes the most yin of the seasons. So cooling, calming, moistening. It's a time when we sort of contract and stay inside. So, in order to get from the most expansive season to the most contracted season, we have that transition of gently, gently contracting. So, everything works gently and slowly as it transitions.
Yes, yes. And as I said before we started recording, I'd always seen spring as that transition from winter, that getting out, some sunlight and there's some warmth and you want to get outside. But I'd never really thought about it at the other side of summer. So thanks for sharing that. When we look at being in autumn, what are the qualities of autumn that we can embrace, not just with our eating, but with our lifestyle choices as well?
Well, of course, the biggest aspect is the leaves falling from the trees. So autumn is the perfect season to start letting go of what no longer serves us.
Yeah.
So it's the season of letting go at many different levels, physically, emotionally, mentally. It's a great time to have that last hurrah and go, yep, don't need that anymore. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I suppose moving to the mountains, which I did, oh gosh, I think it's about 13 years ago, having the deciduous trees in the garden and of course the fruit orchard as well, you're reminded of that. Yeah, it's time to let go and just sort of nestle in for the winter period. So, yeah, I love that. And giving ourselves permission to let go of what doesn't work for us. So,
Yeah.
from a food perspective, what sort of qualities are we looking for to make that transition from summer through to winter?
Autumn tends to be quite a drying season. So
Mm.
it's really important to have lovely moist foods. And because, lots of juicy pears, that sort of thing. But also because we're starting to contract, we actually need to balance that with slightly dispersive foods. And the pungent flavor is perfect for dispersing that lung energy. So things like fresh ginger and fresh spring onions. Those are that sort of pungent flavor that helps the energy to continue to disperse while we start to contract. And of course, because it's starting to get colder, we need to start warming up our diet. We need to start having slightly longer cooking styles, adding a bit more moisture into what we're cooking. So having more of the soups and the casseroles and the porridges, nice wet foods.
Yes. Tanya, as you were talking about the ginger, I was thinking about how we harvest our pumpkins sort of in autumn as well. And of course, what's one of the key ingredients in my pumpkin soup? Ginger. And yeah, so it is interesting, isn't it, when we do have the ability to eat seasonally, that we tend to use the ingredients that are going to support our health.
Absolutely. And the spring onions are a lovely thing to sprinkle on top of your pumpkin and ginger soup to help keep that energy dispersing. Or chives. I love chives in autumn.
Yes, yeah, no, that's great. What other things can you suggest, maybe some examples of autumn foods for our listeners?
Well, pears, of course, are one of the biggest suggestions in autumn because they can really moisten that dryness, especially towards the lungs. So the nashi pears are wonderful, poached pears, that sort of thing. Lily bulb. Now, lily bulb's an interesting food as medicine because we don't often think of that sort of thing, but you can pick up dried lily bulbs from an Asian supermarket.
Yes.
And you can add the dried lily bulbs into teas, you can add it into stir fries, you can add it into stewed pears. So lily bulbs are a great food. The gingers, the spring onions, congee's wonderful. And because autumn is ruled by the lungs and the large intestine, we need to keep the bowels moving as well. And pine nuts are a really lovely food to just keep
Ah.
those bowels nice and moist. So pine nut congee, if you're feeling a bit stuck, not quite letting go as well as you'd like to.
Yeah, isn't that interesting too, as you just said that about that concept of letting go? And that is one thing that can happen in the body, isn't it? When we are holding on to something that's not serving us or we're not processing, that we can become constipated, can't we?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's where the omega-3s can come in really handy. So the chia seeds and the flax seeds, moistening as well as moving.
yes, because I was thinking about when you talk about pears, that's one thing that we harvest as well here in autumn. And we often poach them with the chai spices as well. So you're
Wonderful.
starting to get, yeah, that spice thing happening as well. So
Mm.
if there's anything that could go astray with food in autumn, what sort of things do you hear perhaps from your clients or in conversation where you think, oh, that's perhaps not the best choice for this time of year?
Well, of course, all the cold foods and the raw foods are going to put a strain on the digestive system. And by putting that strain on the digestive system, the body then starts to create more phlegm. So autumn is the best time to start boosting our immune system before the winter cold and flu season comes.
Yes.
So this is where your pumpkin soup is awesome because pumpkin is so nourishing to the digestive system, the ginger being lovely and warming. So there's less chance of that phlegm being created within the system. So that's probably one of the biggest things.
Yes, yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned immunity because I was reflecting on that also because I was thinking, well, the body is smart. It's not going to leave getting all its defenses in place when winter hits. It's going to be building up to it during autumn. So I think that's a really lovely but also reassuring message is that we can choose our foods and drinks so we're building up that immunity as winter approaches as well. So, what about teas and drinks, I suppose? Because I always think about the importance of teas as well with our immunity. Tanya, is there
Yeah.
anything that you would suggest for autumn?
Autumn, it's certainly the time to start introducing things like chai tea. So all those lovely warming spices. Astragalus is a wonderful immune boosting herb. You can buy it again at the Asian supermarkets. It looks a bit like a tongue depressor. And I tend to put a couple of those into my teas because it has a fairly neutral flavor.
Yes.
So if I'm having a cup of tea, I'll put a few sticks of astragalus in my teapot or in my nice tall cup. And that will help with the immune system, but also oolong tea. So in the springtime, we want to have all those lovely green teas because they're the fresh harvest.
Yes.
But as we get further into winter, we want those stronger teas that are going to boost that warmth within the body. So oolong tea is a lovely tea to have. I mentioned lily bulb earlier. Lily bulb is very moistening to the body. So having something like a lily bulb and red date tea or a lily bulb and goji berry tea is wonderful.
Yes.
Just warming up the system.
Yes.
ginger and hot lemon and ginger is it never goes astray.
Is it all right to add a little bit of honey as well, Tanya?
Sure. Good quality honey.
Yes, and that's one thing. Living where we do near the mountains, we do have a lot of options for fresh local honey that hasn't been overly processed. And I'm very excited because a neighbour of mine actually has a hive and she's just started harvesting. And it was amazing to taste her spring honey because of all the blossoms that we've had leading up to summer. So yeah, it was just out of this world. I couldn't even explain the flavour. It was so florally. So I'm all for a little bit of honey. And I
Well,
remember,
honey is,
you go,
sorry to interrupt, honey is very moistening. So
yeah,
when you do have that dry throat or that dry cough, the honey is awesome for that.
yes, yeah. And I think what I was going to say is that I was questioned about adding honey to tea or to porridge, but it's all about the amount as well, I think. When responded to a question at a talk I was giving about that, and because the question was, oh, well, I didn't think we should add sugar to anything. And I said, well, it all comes back to the amount that we're adding. I don't think half a teaspoon of honey in your porridge is going to be an issue if you want to sweeten it with something. Having said that, I don't tend to add honey to my porridge anymore. I much prefer turmeric and cinnamon and maybe some sultanas. But that's another story. But certainly in winter, I do feel like adding a little bit of honey into my chai.
Yeah, in terms of porridges and things, just putting some apple, cooking the apples into your porridge or cooking some
Or
pears into your
pear.
porridge is a lovely way to sweeten up the
Yeah.
porridge. And not only from a constitutional perspective, if you do have a tendency to a lot of dryness, a bit of honey is actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's moistening. So it's lovely, not just because autumn is dry, but if you tend to be quite dry, and a lot of people do, a bit of honey is going to be wonderful for their constitution.
Mm.
Whereas if you tend to be a really damp sort of person, full of phlegm all the time or fluid retentions, then maybe you need to think more about adding fruit rather than honey into your porridge.
Yes, thanks for that. What are some of the symptoms, I suppose, of being dry? How would someone know if they were tending more to that dry constitution, Tanya?
Well, if you've got your dry eyes or dry lips or dry mouth, or particularly when you're very hot, you might find that your skin is very dry or
Yes.
that you just, yeah, it is literally feeling dry inside.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's good because people don't often get the chance or even think to stop about how am I feeling. And I suppose that's where my interest in Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine really first began because practitioners from Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, yourself included, encourage us to know how our mind and body feels. But
Mm.
many people don't actually know that, yeah, what I'm picking up on is actually what's happening to me, and we can make some changes to actually improve that balance within the body. So, thanks for sharing that, Tanya, because I'm all for empowering people as you are to understand more about what's happening inside and what we can do about it. Are there any other suggestions for autumn that you'd like to share?
Well, because one of the aspects of autumn is it works with the lungs and the large intestine, our breath is really important. So using those long, slow, deep belly breaths engages the diaphragm, which massages the intestines, but it also calms the whole nervous system down. So when our nervous system is calmed right down, our immune system is going to be stronger, our digestive system is going to work better. So this is the perfect, because autumn is lung large intestine season, this is the perfect season to start focusing on how is my breath? Is it short and shallow or is it long and deep?
Yes. Yeah. And
Um,
and I know for my clients, just sort of getting them started, like perhaps first thing in the morning, taking some deep breaths. Before you eat your meal, just sort of slow down and take some deeper breaths and longer breaths because we kind of have to build a bit of a practice around it, don't we, to actually check in.
Absolutely. Start the day with a glass of warm water and 10 nice, long, slow, deep belly breaths. You've set up an amazing day. The other actually important thing I remembered is that because the weather is cooling down, especially in the mornings and the evenings, it is important that we start now wearing our slippers and socks, keeping our lower backs warm, keeping our bellies warm, and keeping our necks covered, because this is often where we catch our colds, is through the back of the neck, because we get chilled and we start hunching up. And so one of the funny things about teaching at college was you could always tell who were the Chinese medicine students versus the naturopathic students, because the Chinese medicine students always wore a scarf to protect against the aircon.
It's interesting you say that, because I remember one of our first visits to Singapore, and it was a real experience because it is so hot and so humid there. But then you go into the cafes or the dumpling houses, and the air conditioning is just full on. And my poor husband got attacked by the air conditioning unit, really, because he was sitting there with a t-shirt on. It was probably only, I don't know, maybe 17 degrees, and we've just come in from something closer to 40 degrees and high humidity. And of course, he was sitting right below the air conditioning vent. And so it was really just attacking him on the neck and the shoulders. And sure enough, the next day he came down with a flu virus. And I think sometimes people will say to us, oh, you don't actually catch a cold from being cold. But Tania, from a Chinese medicine point of view, is it more that the body has had to deal with the cold environment, so it's had to work harder to keep you warm? How would you explain the risk of catching a cold or flu because your body's cold?
It's all within context, of course. So you're not going to catch a cold just by being a little bit cold.
No.
But when you've got that cold wind coming through to the back of the neck, I don't know, it's called, those acupuncture points there are called the wind gate.
Yes.
And so you tend to be more vulnerable through this neck region. And of course, colds and flus are all neck and throat issues.
Yes.
Whereas perhaps having cold feet or a cold back is more about just weakening our resilience. So the more chilled we get in those regions, we don't feel as strong and as resilient, which will make us more vulnerable to becoming unwell.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think so too. And as always, there's always individual differences in our constitutions and what each of us can tolerate. So I think that's always important to keep in mind. Any other tips for autumn?
It is about slowing down. So we're slowing down to get ready for winter. We're nourishing our immune system to get ready for winter. And therefore, our cooking styles, we're going to start to slow down our cooking styles. So rather than the quick steaming veggies and the quick stir-fry veggies, it's more about those longer, lower temperature, but longer cooking, pulling out your overnight slow cooker and that sort of thing. So everything is about warming up and slowing down through autumn.
Yes.
The color of autumn is white. So we often associate a color with a season in Chinese medicine. So this is why a lot of those white pungent foods can be beneficial. But I must admit, I have my favorite autumn soup is a cauliflower and chickpea soup.
Oh, nice.
So it's just that whiteness of autumn.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is interesting. Do you know how the different colors were selected for the different seasons in Chinese medicine?
I think there's probably a variety of correspondences,
Yeah.
possibly because a lot of the pungent foods, the white onions, the white garlic, the white sweet spring onions, that whiteness of metal element energy for autumn.
Yes.
In summer, it's often red foods because the summer relates to our heart, and the heart is about pumping the blood around. So we're nourishing the blood.
Yes.
In springtime, it's all those lovely green foods because they're the sprouts that are sprouting up, all those lovely leafy greens that come out.
Yeah.
We say that the earth element is late summer, but it's also the transition between each season. And it's the earth element corresponds to the colors of yellow and orange. So all of those pumpkins and sweet potatoes and sweet corns, they have that naturally sweet flavor that tends to nourish the digestive system.
Yes.
And then we come down to winter, which is more of the dark foods, the sort of blacks and blues and greens. And when you think of winter, winter is dark. You know, we have our winter solstice, which is the darkest, the longest night of the year.
Yes.
So the dark foods do tend to nourish more that kidney energy and that kidney, not kidney organs, but the energy of the kidneys and our foundational energy. So there is a correspondence between what the body's doing and also what the season outside is doing, because we're simply a reflection of what's happening outside.
Yes, yes. And again, I think it comes back to our conversation earlier about when possible eating those seasonal foods, because they are going to support us because we're going through that season at that particular time as well. So I think that is a really lovely reminder of local and seasonal foods when possible. But also, thanks for sharing about, the colors of the seasons and how they actually reflect the foods that are going to nourish us as well. So, beyond food, we've talked about the breathing. Is there anything else for supporting our well-being that you'd recommend in autumn as we progress through to winter?
In Chinese medicine, we say that the lungs rule the skin. So dry skin brushing is a lovely exercise to practice, well, all year, but especially in the autumn season. We're stimulating the boundary between us and the outside world, and our immune system is also on that surface level. It's our protective mechanism. So in the dry skin brushing, we're stimulating that wei qi, that immune system qi, our boundary energy.
Yeah,
So I
that's
love doing dry skin brushing.
yeah. What sort of do you actually use a brush, Tanya? Because I haven't heard of this before. Yeah, so is it
Yeah,
what sort of brush do you use?
it's called a skin brush. So
Fancy
I know
that.
you can get them at places like the Body Shop,
Ah,
and various other places. I know, I suspect Iku up here have them. Yeah, the long handle ones are great because so when you're in your shower, you can get to your back.
yes.
And you tend to do it before you get into the shower, but stepping into the shower while your skin is still dry, giving it a good stimulation, giving it a good brush over,
Mm,
and then having a shower and
yes.
washing away those dead skin cells. It's a
Yes.
fabulous exercise.
Okay, so it's better to do while you're dry. Is it different to, say, having an exfoliation in the shower?
Not overly different
Yeah.
because you're still trying to get rid of those, but you don't want to exfoliate every day.
No.
So I tend to exfoliate once a week,
Yes.
but every day I can just quickly give my body a quick brush with the dry body brush,
Yes.
and it's that, I don't know, it just really stimulates the
Yes.
energy because you're calling the blood to the surface. So
Yes.
it helps the body feel a little warmer as well. You're improving the circulation through the
Yes.
body.
Yes. Oh no, that's a lovely self-care activity that
Mm.
could be incorporated into your routine. So is morning preferable to evening to do it, Tanya?
From a body clock perspective, the energy is strongest in the lung and large intestines very first thing
It
in the
is.
morning. So the
Yeah.
lung time is 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. So you don't need to get up at 3 to body brush. But between 5 and 7, we're still in that autumn energy.
Yes.
So, yeah, so first thing in the morning, this is why it's great first thing in the morning to have your hot water, get the bowels moving, to
Yeah.
do your deep belly breathing because our energy's in the lungs,
Mm.
and to do a big body brush when you're stepping into just before you step into the shower.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's something I'm certainly going to look into because I do find that in winter, especially, my skin can start getting dry. It doesn't seem to matter what I eat, what I put on it, it can get dry. And I think it's because we can have very cold and dry winters here as well. So that's definitely something I'm going to be taking away from today, Tanya. Thank you for that.
When we're very dry, it's often the yin of the body that is a bit depleted because, as we mentioned earlier, the yin is the moistening aspect of the body.
Yes.
And lily bulbs and goji berries actually nourish the yin of the body.
Yes.
Those lovely omega 3s help moisten the body.
Yes.
So the drier we feel, the more we need to make sure that we are having a lot of moist foods and we're hydrating well, that we're drinking enough, because as it gets colder, we stop drinking. We go, oh, I'm not so hot, I'm not sweating, I don't need to drink. But you need to drink just as much as ever.
Yes.
But sometimes just drinking water flushes the body. It doesn't actually hydrate it.
No.
So that's where the lovely yin nourishing teas can make you feel more hydrated and less dry.
Yeah, that's a really lovely tip as well. Tania, thanks so much for what you have shared today about us staying well and nourished during autumn. Is there anything else that you would like to share about autumn, perhaps some resources or any workshops that you've got coming up?
I'm very excited that my autumn seasonal self-care workshop will be coming up soon. So Sunday, April the 12th, it'll be a full day workshop where we will have a look at what autumn actually means, both physically, mentally, emotionally. We'll be talking about letting go. We'll be talking about the body clock. We'll be talking about the pungent foods and the white foods and moistening foods. And we'll be practicing some Qigong, both sound healing Qigong and what we call the Guigen Qigong, which works on nourishing that metal element, which is the autumn. And I ran these last year, and I have little ebooks that I created for these workshops that are available on my website. After I've run the autumn workshop, I'll be updating my ebook on the website as well.
That's great. I'll make sure your contact details are provided in the episode's notes. There's currently an autumn book available as well, though, or will you be
It's from last year's workshop.
Yeah, okay. So would you suggest people wait till the new one comes or get hold of
Yeah, I would. I'll be putting up the latest summer ebook
Yes.
probably tomorrow.
Yes.
So you can have a look at the updated summer ebook very soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, last year's autumn ebook was great, but I will be extending it a little bit. I'll be adding to it, not so much. Yeah, I'll be adding to it for this year.
Yeah, so it's like an updated version with some extra bits and pieces in there, which sounds
A
great.
couple of extra bits.
Yeah. Tania, thanks for sharing that because, as you know, with my approach to mindful eating, I'm also about seasonal eating as much as we can and as much as possible eating in tune with the body. And I'm really looking forward to our winter discussion, which will be coming up later in the year as well. So if you want to reach out to Tania, as I said, I will leave her contact details in this episode's notes. I'm sure she's happy to answer your questions. And of course, if you're close by, you might want to pop in and see her as well. So all those details will be in the episode's notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let us know and share it with someone it can benefit as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the Eating for You podcast, please do so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. For general resources around mindful eating and health, please check out the Eating for You Your Health Hub. I look forward to sharing with you again next week.